now instead of before, but it doesn't really matter. Hello Bookworm family, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Danny. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell because it's always a mystery when I post new videos. And if you're not already following me on Instagram, please be sure to do that. It is at _dancing_bookworm. I post on there full book reviews and bookish content. So today I am doing the mid-year freakout tag. And I know most people A, get tagged in this, which I was not, and B, post this at the end of June. However, I want to do it anyway, so I'm doing it anyway. And as far as posting it at the end of June, I didn't start reading till April because I didn't read for all of 2021 minus like one graphic novel, and then I didn't read from January to April this year because I was just miserable, just absolutely miserable. I had a lot of health problems going on, so now that I'm better, I have been reading from April to now consistently and don't plan to stop again unless things get bad again. So I'm feeling good now. I mean, I have my days, but reading is one of my top priorities again, which is very happy. But I didn't read anything for the first part of the year, so that's why this freak out is happening now instead of before, but it doesn't really matter. Anyway, so this is just basically like a bunch of like random questions about books that you've read this year, and I'm going to answer them. That's how this works. So we're going to do that. We're going to do that right now. I think that was the best explanation you'll ever get of anything in your lives. So let's just jump into it because I'm apparently not good at explaining this year. This video, this pretty much my entire life. Hi Chandler. Welcome. Okay, bye Chandler. So the first question on here is the best book that I've read so far in 2022. Now, I have not read much. I've read almost like, I want to say like 45 books, which I mean is a lot, but it's not like a lot. But the best one that I've read so far is Hollowpox, The Hunt for Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is the third book of the Nevermore series. The Nevermore series is about a girl named Morgan who is born a cursed child, and on her 12th birthday she's going to probably die, but she is whisked away to the land of Nevermore by Jupiter North, who takes her in as a hopeful potential to be a part of the Wondrous Society, and if she gets to be a part of the Wondrous Society, she has access to a magical school. This specific book is about the Wunimals, which are like magical animals in Nevermore, are slowly getting this disease that are turning them into regular animals, and they don't know how to fix it. So it's a very good book. I love this series so much. I would say that this series, like, I have some top series, but like this is probably one of my tops, like right after Harry Potter. And honestly, like it's right on the coattails of Harry Potter. Like it's really close. I absolutely adore this series. It's just such a fun read, and I never like find myself like drifting off or getting bored, even though it's a chunker. Like all the books in the series is a chunker, but I never find myself getting bored. I think it would be great for any middle grade and up reader. Like there's like, it really reminds me of like reading like a middle grade book as an adult and just like going back to that nostalgia of magic and stuff like that. So I absolutely love this series. So this is my top book of 2022 so far. 2020, we don't want to go back to then. No. 2022 so far. Then we have best sequel. I didn't really know what to put for this one because I wasn't sure if it meant like sequel or series or just sequel or what. So instead of sequel, I did a prequel, and that is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Susan Collins, and this is the prequel to the Hunger Games series, and it takes place before President Snow is president, and it's his childhood and growing up in like the beginning of these Hunger Games, and he ends up having to be a like guide. I can't think of the word that I want to say, but like a guide for one of the tributes in the Hunger Game, and he gets one of the worst tributes, and he's very, very stressed out about it, and like one of the worst districts, not necessarily the worst tribute, but one of the worst districts to be a tribute for. So I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. My other option for this one was Love and Olives, which is Jenna Evans Welch, by Jenna Evans Welch, and it's part of the Love and series, which is kind of just like That's not really like a series, but it's just like a group of books that all have similar plot lines where like a girl travels to a different country and meets a guy and blah blah blah. And the reason that was up for a nomination for this one for me was just because I like don't normally like straight romance, and this is just a very tactfully done YA, like cute, crushy romance, but also just very funny and lighthearted, and it just really takes you to the other country, which is why I read. I like to travel in my mind and go to these different places and stuff like that. So that's why that was up for a nomination, but it wasn't really a sequel. Like, it was the third, and I didn't know if it was like sequel series, what it wanted. And also I just liked Ballad of Snakes and Songbirds just a little bit more, or Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes just a little bit more. So that is the winner for this one. The next one is a new release I want to read soon, and that is The Guncle by Stephen Rowley, and this is actually on my August TBR. This is about a gay man who ends up going through a breakup, and also around the same time tragedy strikes and he ends up being the primary guardian for his niece and nephew. He still wants to live his fabulous life and wants to just kind of have these kids plop into his life and doesn't really want to adapt for them, but he quickly learns that that's not how it's going to be raising kids. So this sounds very funny. It sounds very like lighthearted and just like a good, happy read. The thing that stresses me out is it's very tiny print. You guys know, like, I love a book that's like flimsy and like, oh, I could book through this puppy no problem, and then it's got the teeny print. But I am very excited for this book. I think it sounds very fun. Like, it doesn't sound too romancy. It doesn't sound too like, it's gonna just drag on and on about like woe is me kind of thing. It just sounds like it's gonna be lighthearted and take like a tragic situation and just give you like hope. So I think that's why I'm very excited for that one. That was the new release that I want to read, and it's also kind of the most anticipated. Like, there were two different prompts there. There was new release that I want to read, which I put down The Guncle, but then there's also most anticipated, and I don't know if that means like most anticipated release or what, or just like what I'm most anticipating, but I would say that this was my most anticipated release too. But I don't really have another most anticipated release. The one that I was really excited for was, I think it's called Silverborn, and it's supposed to be the fourth book. It's either Silverborn or Silver Mist, one of those things. It's supposed to be the fourth book of the Morgan Crow books, the Nevermore series, and yeah, it's not coming out this year. It's going to end up coming out in 2023 instead, so that was the one I was really excited for, and now it's not coming out, so I don't really know. Book that was the biggest disappointment. This, for me, was the biggest disappointment because it was so hyped and I expected to really like it, and it just wasn't my cup of tea. Like, it's not the type of fantasy books that I enjoy personally. And that is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. And it wasn't bad, but I only gave it like 2 stars, I think. And it was just so hyped. Like, people loved that book so much. It was talked about on BookTube everywhere. Like, I couldn't find a middle grade BookTube channel that didn't talk about it. And so I'm ready to like be on the edge of my seat. And it really just kind of like fell flat for me. Like, everything that was happening was kind of told to you. Like, there was no like real mystery element to it or anything, which it didn't really have to have a mystery element, but I don't know. It just like, it wasn't the type of book that I really enjoy. Like, it just kind of like fell flat for me. So yeah, that one unfortunately was the most disappointing. I still liked it. It was like good, but it wasn't like amazing or great or anything like that. And it was just kind of like not what I thought it was going to be, I guess. Like, just kind of reminded me of like a book that I was forced to read in school rather than a book that I would have picked up and chosen for myself, which the best kind of surprises is when you pick up a book that you don't expect to like and, you know, really, really love it, and that wasn't the case for this. I was expecting to love it, and I didn't really care for it, so. But that brings me to the book that is the biggest surprise, and that is X-Gender, and that, I forget who wrote it. Oh my gosh, it's a tough name, too. So I'm just gonna put it here. This is about a person who, knows that they're a lesbian, but also is starting to realize that they're non-binary, and that being a lesbian is really hard when they're non-binary because of the body dysmorphia that they're having. This is actually an autobiography by the author, and it's manga, and I have never read manga before. I didn't think I would like manga, and I didn't actually like the formatting of manga, But this book was actually a really big surprise to me that I enjoyed it, because I've never read manga before. I've never read this author before. I've never really read a book with non-binary characters before. Even though I'm non-binary, I wasn't sure how well it would be handled, and I picked it up at Barnes & Noble, sat down and read it, and it was really good. It was very also it was something that I really connected with. It was just something that all these thoughts that go through my head on a daily basis, and I'm no one understands that, because I don't have any non-binary friends, where it's somebody out there understands it, and there's more people like me. So it was a very nice book to feel accepted, and it did a lot of great explaining too, which I feel would be great for people. I have a lot of friends who they ask me a lot of questions about being non-binary, and I'm not great at explaining it. I'm just well, this is what I know about myself and about my choice and my life and my how I was born and how I feel inside, and I don't think my friends can connect to just my personal, they want facts and figures, and this book had some facts and figures in it that I feel would be really, really good for people who are allies and they're trying to understand this better, to pick up and read. And I really enjoyed it. I actually just read it today. Today was the day that I read it, and I was oh my gosh, this is amazing. Even though I didn't really care for the manga format, I really enjoyed the writing, the plot line, the understanding that went into writing it. And as being an autobiography, I know that this is something that somebody really went through, and it's something that I currently am going through. So it was very nice to read. Also, the character was 33 and I'm 30, so it's kind of one of those things where I was oh my gosh, I felt the oldest person in the world coming out at 25 as a lesbian, and then coming out as non-binary when I was 29. So it was one of those things where I was no one's gonna understand this. And then I was reading a book where somebody was oh, at 33 I'm realizing this about myself. So it was a really nice connection. The next one is a new author, either new to me or new in general, that I really enjoyed. And this is a new to me author, but it was Justina Ireland, and I read Dread Nation by her, and I really enjoyed this. I hate historical fiction, guys. Absolutely hate it. Loved this one. This is a historical sci-fi. It's about zombies as if they were in the Civil War, and I loved this. And I actually got this book through Page Habit, so it actually has the annotated notes in here as well, that I was able to read and connect with the author a little bit more. And she even drew up pictures of the characters of Catherine and Jane. Oh, that's Lily. Where's Jane? There's Jane, who's the main character. And there's actually sketches. There's Red Jack and Mr. Gideon. So there's actual sketches of the characters and a note from the author and stuff like that. Guys, I miss Page Habit so much. People of Page Habit, can you come back, please? Because I miss you. I miss you a lot. There are some great book boxes out there, and I'm not knocking any of them, but the annotated books were the thing for me. Being able to read what the author feels as they're writing is great. So I felt I got to really get to know Justina Ireland, and I'm very excited to read the next book of this series, which I would never expect me to say, but she handled this so well that I didn't even really feel it felt it took place in the Civil War based on their dialects and the actions that were happening. But it didn't feel it wasn't something that I was oh, this is gonna drone on because it takes place in an older time period or anything like that. Very, very well done. Absolutely loved her writing style, loved her characters. So yes, Justina Ireland is a new author that I am really adoring. The next one is my new book crush, and this one is hard because I read a lot of YA in middle grade, so I don't really get book crushes because they're children, so that's creepy. And also I just don't get crushes on fictional characters. I know as a reader you're supposed to get crushes on fictional characters, but I don't. But the character that I could see myself most dating if they were a real person would be Dani Brown from Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. And she is just so much like me, and I think it's the name, because we're both named Dani, that I don't think we would actually date well because we'd be too similar. But she is a bisexual character, so I stand a chance, but basically, Take a Hint, Dani Brown is about a woman who just wants to get laid, pretty much, and she ends up somehow becoming a social media celebrity with a guy that she like doesn't really have feelings for, but he's crush worthy to her, and they end up going into a fake relationship and start dating for this social media purposes and end up hooking up and stuff like that, and she ends up really like developing feelings for him even though she promises herself she's not going to. The character reminds me so much of myself, not because I'm pining after a guy or because I want that kind of relationship. I don't. But the characterization of her reminds me of myself because she's just like hyper focused on work and like not really interested in having like a social life, like just wants work to be perfect, and sadly that's my life. But also has like a good relationship with her siblings, and it was a very funny book and the character was very funny, so I feel like even though she just reminded me of myself a lot, I feel like if I was gonna date a character, it would be her. Like, I guess, I don't really know. I don't really have crushes on book characters, so, yeah. Anyway, so the next one is my favorite character, and I picked Betty from A Pinch of Magic by, from Michelle Harrison. A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. The main character, Betty, just reminds me of like a modern day version of Jo from Little Women, and I really, really enjoy her. A Pinch of Magic is about 3 sisters who are given magical artifacts, and the magical artifacts end up taking them on an adventure to try to break their family's curse. And Betty is very headstrong. She's kind of a tomboy. She's very like protective of her sisters, and she just really does remind me of a modern day version of Jo from Little Women, who is my all-time favorite book character, so I really enjoyed reading about her. The next book is a book that made me cry, and I picked The Someday Birds by Sally J. Pla. This book, so I don't actually cry at books. I've cried at maybe like 3 books in my entire life, but this is the closest I got to crying. So, but this is about a boy whose father is injured in Afghanistan, and the boy has autism, and he ends up having to travel across country completely out of his schedule in a van with his 3 siblings who could not be further from personality from him, and this random family friend, to try to get to their father and grandmother when their father gets transferred to the special hospital that's supposed to be able to help him. And I cried like internally. I didn't cry real tears, but like it was very like, it went back and forth between like so much joy I could burst to like heart-wrenching pain. And it was just a beautiful read and a really interesting read, and a very like read that like really shows acceptance for people who have autism. And yeah, I would highly suggest this to anyone who teaches like middle school, middle grade age levels. This is ages 8 to 12. I actually might suggest this to, I have a coworker that also teaches 6th grade. Think she teaches 6th grade social studies, but she used to teach 6th grade English as well, but now I think she's actually getting switched to science, so maybe I won't. Well, I'll tell her about it just in case. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. It really did like pull on my heartstrings. I'm just not a crier, so yeah. Anyway, so then we have a book that made me happy, and surprisingly I picked Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree, and this book I did not expect to like at all, but it was just so pointless it made me happy. Like, it was just what I needed to hear. I listened to it on audiobook. It was just what I needed to hear. I just needed something pointless, something just to listen to while I did some work and stuff like that, that just wasn't, that had no stakes. And that's actually like the plot, like it, like the tagline is like something something low stakes. I don't remember what the first part of that is, but I know it says low stakes in the tagline, and I was like, that's all I need right now. But this is about an orc, I think it is, an orc, who used to live a life of violence and would like hunt people and stuff like that, and she ends up opening up the very first coffee shop on her planet. Are you like okay? Because he's like, his ball is like fell down the crack of the bed, and he's not okay about it. And he knocked my camera over. But anyway, so she opens up a coffee shop, the very first one on her planet, and it's just kind of her like juggling, jeez, your nails, juggling the understanding of how to run a coffee shop and get people to buy something they didn't even know they wanted, because there's never been coffee on their planet before. So it's very cute. And there's also like a like side plot where like somebody wants her to come back to the life of violence and she doesn't want to. So it's cute. It just kind of like made me happy. There was nothing, there's no like point to it. It just existed, and for that reason it was a happy book. The next one is a book that I recently bought that has a beautiful cover. And the thing is I haven't bought a lot of books this year. I've really been trying to read the books that I already have, which is shocking that I'm actually doing that. Okay, you have the ball. Go get it. Okay, so it's shocking that I'm actually doing that because normally I buy books left and right, but I just haven't had like extra budget for book buying this year. So when I buy a book, I usually buy like thrifted books, and then the covers are kind of tattered and stuff like that. But one of the newer books that I bought, and I actually think it's a very pretty cover, is Sal and Gabby Break the Universe by Carlos Hernandez. And I just really like this galaxy print on it. I know most people for this one usually have like something that's like foiled or has like gilded edges and stuff like that, and I don't have one that I bought this year. I have some really beautiful books with really beautiful covers, but not anything that I bought this year. So this is probably the prettiest one, and I really just love the galaxy print. I love galaxy print. It's actually the I was going to show you guys the case on my phone, but that's what I'm filming on, so I can't do that. But yeah, that's like the prettiest one that I bought so far, but I haven't really bought many. The last one is books that I still need to read this year, and I have so many. I want to read my entire TBR, but probably won't do that. But the books that I would say are like some of my top priority is to really get through the Twisted Tale books that are from Disney, and I've read so many of them, but I just really want to read them all so that I'm like on track with them as they get released, and I'm hoping that I can read at least a few more this year, but I would really like to get through all of them. But yeah, they're just like twisted tales on like twisted takes on Disney movies. They're cute and fun and just fun reads. But yeah, I would say that would be the ones that I would want to read the most, but who knows what I'll end up reading. It's kind of just whatever I feel like at this point. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
Wasn't that a great video? Clearly books make me very happy. Now you can make me happy too. Click the subscribe button to follow my channel. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you think I did good. And the notification bell will let you know when I post new content. Also, follow my Instagram for more book shenanigans.